Most people don't realize that half of all sci-fi fans are women. And that's the biggest stereotype. People think that sci-fi is for the men and for the boys, and it's not. Sci-fi is for everyone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Machtails from the Cantina Live, episode number 47. On tonight's episode, we will be talking about the new Disney Plus live-action TV show, Ahsoka. Joining us on the show are the Machtails from the Cantina producers, Cody Mulwalker Moore, Todd Suds Sedlak, and Matthew Rooney. He will be doing a double dip as he will be also working some magic behind the board. Good friend and musician Glenn Nelson will also be joining the show. Brother Rich Brenda will also be joining the show for the Cheer and a Beer segment.
I can't watch anymore.
And you never know who else just might stop by.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I am your show host, Chris Mock, and also the documentarian that brought you The Force Among Us, The Force Within Us, The Walkers Among Us, and the real fans of the saga.
All right, boys, keep tight now.
Sit back, crack open a cold one, smoke if you got 'em.
Marijuana! Better than cracking hookers.
And we are live inside the Wampa Cave. Let the tomfoolery and hijinks begin.
Kick out the jams, motherfucker!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the hijinks and tomfoolery we have planned for you guys tonight. I want to say hello to Dale Morris and John Zancanaro, two people not promoting the show. I'm sure they're promoting the show, but two faithful Patreon members. And I cannot thank them enough. I have my very, very important show producers on this evening. Brother Suds had a conflict of interest, if you will, and he is doing a segment with Brother Brian Klein on Brian's show, Source Pages. So please check out Source Pages. Great podcast episode. You guys can get that anywhere and everywhere podcasts are available. Not like Mocktails. We are found in the underground. You have to be a Patreon member to support the show. Those of you watching, I thank you for supporting it by just simply tuning in. But again, I can't thank you guys enough for your Patreon support. It means a lot to me. We are family. We are Star Wars family. We were friends first over this franchise. Then we became family. And I want to start the show off on a little bit of a heavier note. Somebody passed away in the Star Wars fan community. It's very, very tragic. It was unexpected. Stuart Levy was the husband of Rancho Obi-Wan CEO and President Ann Newman. I never met Stu. I know my brother Jimmy Mack was a very, very close friend of his. He will be missed by a lot of people. This guy seems like the person that I would have been best friends with. He loved music, he loved baseball, and he loved Star Wars. Three things that we love to talk about on this show. So for those of you guys that want to give back to the community or help the Star Wars family, I want to post a PayPal address up here. This is the PayPal address that is accepting gifts in Stu's name to help cover hospital expense, deductibles, this and that, all the things that are associated, unfortunately, when we punch a ticket to the other side. So if you guys, feel like, you might have missed out on the Rancho Obi-Wan Gala, however you want to say it. They actually postponed that because of the passing of Stuart. It's a very, very big deal. Maybe you have some funds saved up because you were going to go to California in the fall, and now your plans have changed. You can always give a couple dollars in Stu's name, and it will go a long way, and it will mean a lot to the people receiving it on the other end. So I want to raise my glass to Stuart. Even though I never met him in this life, I'm sure I will meet him in the next. We have a great show for you guys tonight. We will be doing the Patreon name draw at the end of the show. Remember, you have to be a Patreon member to get in on the prizes. I know John Zancanaro has won several times. Dale Morris has won a lot as well. Drinking word of the night, we're all going to be drunk as skunks by the time this show is over. It is going to be Ahsoka. That is what we're all here to talk about tonight, and I'm going to share this light with my producers because it's not my show, it's our show. Again, going back to that Star Wars family, that Star Wars community that has been created by so many different fan pockets, fan outlets over the last several years. I want to start off with what I loved about Ahsoka, the show. One, live action TV is where it got me. I mean, I love live action television when it comes to Star Wars. I've been waiting for this for a long time. They were actually talking about live action before they put out the Clone Wars. As somebody that's not super familiar with the Clone Wars and all of Rebels, I did not feel lost on this show. The music was amazing. The feel of the show was dark, and damn, did it feel like Star Wars. I know a lot of us kind of had this idea that when Andor was released, people said it didn't feel like Star Wars. I saw their point of view, but I have to tell you, Ahsoka, in the hands of Favreau and Filoni, this show feels more like Star Wars than anything I've seen on Disney Plus, excluding the Obi-Wan series. So I want to bring on my first guest. We're going to open this up into a roundtable kind of discussion. I want to find out how Matthew Rooney felt about this show. What was it about this show that you liked the most?
Like the most. Well, hi, everybody. Happy to be on the show. Thank you for inviting me, Chris, to talk about the Ahsoka show, which I absolutely adore. And I've watched it a couple times now. I don't know. I think it's so hard to pick a favorite thing, me with my favorite things, but I think just like how contemplative the whole show is, like there's a lot of moments where the characters are just kind of like sitting still and they're thinking and they're looking around, and there's these like really subtle gestures, and like it like lets you get really intimate with them, and like it gives you some time to like sit with them and figuring out like what is this person thinking, what is their background, especially those of us who've seen a lot of the shows and we know where they came from and what some of these things mean to them. It sort of gives you time to see what's going on, and there's these kind of slow movements back and forth to different characters. But I think the music too, like there's so many references in the music. Sometimes it's to the movies, but a lot of it is references to the Rebels show and the Clone Wars show. Like there's little like vignettes of music that kind of brings in from those shows and kind of riffs on them. And like he's sort of the person who's maybe done the most music ever for Star Wars since he's done so many of these shows. And so it's really nice to kind of get to hear him here with a full, orchestra and having all the funding he needs to have the players that he wants and sort of have the big stage that he hasn't had with the animated shows.
The only thing that I did not like about this show, but you're talking about, using your resources with the music, I feel like what this is missing, what Ahsoka is missing, what all these Disney Plus shows are missing, is what Obi-Wan got at Celebration. Obi-Wan got the red carpet treatment. It had that cinematic experience with the first 2 episodes. And I feel like it would be great, since Ahsoka had 2 episodes back to back, the debut of it. They need to show these on the big screen. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Matthew, do you feel like it's missing out on the cinematic, debut, if you will?
I mean, yeah, like I wish I could watch all of it in the theater, all the shows. Like I don't have a great setup either. Like some people have a nice like home audio system, and I don't. Like that's something I need to work on in the future. So like there's probably a lot going on with like the audio design and the sound that I'm just not getting at all. And I hope that at some point I can actually get that going. I guess I could wear like a headset and listen to it on my computer, but yeah, I wish I could see all the shows on the big screen and be able to hear all the sound design and get to see it writ large. Especially like in this show in particular, there were so many things like with the ships. That was one of the things that impressed people about the original film, was like the first shot with the ship going overhead, and you had shots like that in this show. Like the opening shot of the Ahsoka show was sort of, I don't know if it was under or over. I guess it was over the top of that ship, but it was a very similar thing. And so I'd love to see that on the big widescreen theater.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these shots and several shots in all these Disney Plus shows, I feel like they're so grand that it's missing the big screen experience. Now, I do know that some people have the cinemas in their house, all you millionaires out there. But it's still not the same. It is not the same as going to the film. I want to bring on brother Cody Moore. Cody, what was it about this show that you really loved?
I really enjoyed the music because I am a big fan of the animated shows like Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and Rebels, and Kevin Kiner having done all those. I've really listened to those soundtracks kind of on loop at work sometimes on my headphones. So it's kind of cool to see some of those themes, like Matthew was mentioning, being brought back, but in a live action context.
Yeah, and bigger, right?
Mm-hmm. And then same with just some of the, like, if I can narrow it down to one moment, just seeing Merrick chuck his lightsaber and Force call it back like you would, just regularly in animated stuff. But seeing that in live action finally now was kind of cool.
See, and that was a moment that I didn't get because I was not super familiar with everything that happened in the animation world, but it was still so amazing to see because it's simply live action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to go back and you got to finish Rebels. Oh, you should really watch these Clone Wars episodes because it really narrows it down for you on what you need to see. And again, I'm probably missing out on the big picture, but I don't feel like I'm missing out on the shock and awe experience of seeing this stuff come to life because, I went back and I tried to watch the Clone Wars after I watched episode 2 of Ahsoka. I'm like, you know what, damn it, I'm going to go to the little carousel on Disney Plus. They got it all laid out for you, all the Ahsoka episodes. And I couldn't get through the first 5 minutes. Not that it's bad. I don't want to say that it's bad. It's just, man, I've said it ad nauseum. It's just not, the animation stuff is just not the same to me anyway. And I love the fact that you guys are all crazy about the animation shows that have been released, and they've been highly praised. And I seem to be a little bit of the odd man out, but make no mistake, because I'm sure people are wondering where I sit with this live action show, because it's simply so tied in to the animation shows that have been released. I feel like I didn't miss a beat. You know, I'm like, wow, this is so great to see. I do want to hear from Brother Antonio from New Jersey. What was it about this show that you loved so much? I'm not even asking you guys if you liked this show. I'm just saying, what did you love most about the show? Because I feel, and I'm removed from the fan community, aside from you guys that are, chiming in on Patreon. I have not been following the Rebel Force Radio threads. I'm sure there's a little hate somewhere, but I don't want to talk about that on this show tonight because I simply loved it. Antonio, what was it about the show that you enjoyed so much?
Well, first, real quick, if you can just stop hating on the animated series just for like 5 seconds. That was infuriating.
And you know what, Antonio? We are not going to throw baseballs at each other.
All right, but that aside, okay, we all love Filoni. We all love Ahsoka, and her journey through those animated series has been really awesome. There's so much you can talk about the series that's so cool, but I was just really, really impressed that this felt like the first series, in my eyes, just my own opinion, that like was a perfect cross section of all the things that I like in Star Wars, from the comic books to the video games. Like I could tell that there was influences from Knights of the Old Republic, right? Like in this, or even to like, there was parts of it that felt like, what was it? Fallen Order, right? It was to the other TV series, to the movies, both the new prequels, right? And even the original. It just felt like a really great blend. And it just was it made me feel so confident, right? Like that it's assumed, right, that this is all going to lead to a big Filoni movie that he's going to direct, right? And if this is who's in charge of it, and I think we all agree that he should be our George Lucas, right? I feel really confident in where this is going. It was just really great to see all these different things come together, and it feels so Star Wars. It never did not feel like Star Wars.
And I think that's a huge thing, right? That it feels like Star Wars. It has to feel like Star Wars right from the get-go to draw us in. And I think that's, to me, that sold it. As soon as the show, you know what threw me off though a little bit in the beginning was they had the scroll, if you will, but it was in a completely different fashion. And I'm like,
it looked like Blade Runner's scroll. It reminded me of the Blade Runner scroll. And I was like,
maybe it was a tribute to that, but it didn't throw me off enough because I'm expecting some newer elements of these filmmakers, these geniuses behind the scenes to bring in. Speaking about bringing in, I'm going to bring in Andy from Miami if he is ready. He's having a couple beers in the green room. I want to bring him in and get his point of view on this. Andy, I know you are a big fan of Ahsoka. What was it that sold you in the first 2 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ahsoka. Just seeing her progression, from where we last left her in Rebels and even in The Mandalorian and up until now, just seeing her the way she is. And a lot of people had a lot of issues with her crossing her arms and being a little bit serious, but let's be real here. This is a character who's gone through quite a bit since she was little to where she's at now. All she's known is war, and she's reaping the consequences of all that. I mean, she lost her family, she's lost her master, she's lost everybody who's always been close to her. So seeing her progression, through all the shows and up until now, it's nice to see that these characters they go beyond just what we see in the animation. They're giving them real life consequences and just building character to her, and just like Sabine and all the other characters.
I think that's a really good point because these characters mature. A lot of people kind of complain about Luke Skywalker in what was that, episode 8. I get the names mixed up with the numbers because it's not. I love the sequels, but I still get them mixed up because I have not seen them as much as the prequels and the original trilogy. But when Luke Skywalker throws his lightsaber over his shoulder, that was one of those scenes that kind of pissed people off. But somebody called this out that was very, very real of somebody that had failed, somebody that was frustrated. So going back to your point, Andy, seeing Ahsoka where she's at now, it's a mature character. I remember when I started one of the episodes, it's probably episode 1, right? Where after I watched episode 2, I went back to watch episode 1 of the Clone Wars. One of the things that drove me crazy was, what the hell is Ahsoka doing wearing a half shirt? But then, of course, we saw Ella Secura dressed that way. So there has always been a little bit of a rebellious, racy side to some of these female Jedi characters. I get that, but it was very strange for me to watch episode 2 of Ahsoka and then go right back to episode 1 of the Clone Wars. I'm like, wow, that was like a lifetime ago, and that character has matured so much. So, Andy, I think you hit it right on that, to see this character in this state, this far along, is especially cool for you guys because you guys are freaks for the animation stuff.
And somebody mentioned to me the other day, will we see her, happier, I guess, in a way. I told him, in my opinion, I think it'll be one of two ways. Either the Rebels crew is reunited or she's reunited with Rex. Rex is the guy that's her safe space, her safe person, the one that she feels the most comfortable around, in my opinion, because she's gone through pretty much all of it with him. So it's somebody who can relate to her, and she doesn't lose patience with him like she does with Sabine, because Sabine can be immature at times, and when you've gone through so much, your tolerance for patience sometimes goes out the door. So somebody reuniting her with Rex, I think, will be, beneficial for her, and see the different side of her, lighter side of her come back.
Do you guys feel like this show, these first 2 episodes, trying to, and Matthew, you're probably one to say, don't compare, don't rate these against what else has been out there. But I kind of measured this up to what I've seen so far, because that's what I do. I'm like, okay, where does this rate with all the other live action shows? And it even boggles my own mind that to me, this was a very, very fresh approach. I've known this character for a long time. I know all these characters. I know who Rex is. I know who Ahsoka is. Even though I have not spent a lot of time with the animated shows, I felt like between the music, this feeling like Star Wars, and the freshness that I've gotten from this, and I know you guys, for you, it's a continuation. I would say that this show ranks up there as number 2, Obi-Wan for me, but I'm really enjoying this more than The Mandalorian. This feels more like Star Wars than The Mandalorian does. Does that make sense to you guys? Or am I crazy?
No, I feel the same way. I'm not, I love The Mandalorian, but it definitely isn't like my top show. It's cool, but it's definitely less Star Warsy, I guess, if you want to say that, than some of the other stuff, just because it is more of like a Western, and it's more on the bounty hunter side, and it's still a great show. But like for me, like Andor and this are my 2 favorites. I mean, this still has a ways to go, but I'm already like over the moon about this show, and just knowing Filoni and what he's capable of doing and what he likes to do in his other shows, I have a lot of high expectations, which I think a lot of it is going to come through and come out in these future series and in that film that he's supposed to be making in the future too.
Cody, how about for you? Where does this rank up with? And I don't want to make you rank this if that is something that you don't do. And Glenn Nelson is finally here. He's a musician. He's always late. He's like a typical podcaster too. These guys always show up. Thank God he's not Sly Stone, because Sly Stone would be 3 hours late. But you know what, Cody, before I bring Glenn on, I want to get your take on that. Where does this rank up for you?
So far, I think just because the scope of it being broader and bringing in a lot of characters that are already pre-established that I like from Rebels, it's number one for me already. So
I could see
I'm excited
that.
to see where else it goes, and to see Thrawn especially.
And one of the moments that really got me too, and I would say I didn't get emotional during these first 2 episodes, but I really loved the mural on the wall of the Rebels crew. I thought that was done really, really nicely. That was kind of like, because a mural is always going to be an animated look, right? And I felt like they did such a good job with bringing those 2 worlds together. It was almost like a mirror, if you will. And yeah, and I could see this being number 1 for you, because it's number 2 for me, and I'm not even, Antonio, I'm not slamming the animated series. How many times I got to tell you that? But one person that's a huge Ahsoka fan that I've been dying to hear from, to me, his Ahsoka's number 1 fan, but a little bit of he's a guest on the show, not a producer, but a guest. He's contributed so much music to all my projects. Mr. Glenn Nelson. Glenn, thank you for joining the show.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about being late.
That's okay, man. It's expected from a musician, that's for sure. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you are
here. Here too.
Let me ask you this. What did you love about this show? Start with that, and then I'll have a follow-up question on that one.
I love the music.
The music was amazing.
Yeah, Kevin Kiner, it just keeps getting better and better and better. I watched the first 2 episodes. I watched them right here with Kevin Lyle and Jesse and Brian from High Adventure and Dave from High Adventure. And we had about 7 or 8 guys in the room. And we watched them both, and we walked outside, and, I am a pretty big Ahsoka fan. I couldn't wait for this show. And we sat in my driveway, and we talked for about an hour. And we're like, do we love it? I mean, shouldn't we be doing backflips, jumping up and down, high-fiving each other? Oh my God, what did we just see? We were sort of puzzled by it. Just my gut reaction was it was really slow. Like someone said, we paused at one point, and someone says it feels like it's in slow motion. And that wasn't a dig. It just, that's kind of how it felt. And so that's, so I walked out of it thinking, well, the music was good. I really, really, really love the music. It is Rebels season 5. It almost feels like it's going to be more like Sabine Wren's story, not Ahsoka's almost. And apparently she's a Force user now, and he was her apprentice, and she can survive lightsaber wounds to the chest and all these things. And so and just another MacGuffin, another map. I wish I just heard some of the feedback from the guys, and I don't know what you guys said since I'm late to the party, but I'll be totally honest. I'm a little skeptical. In the very beginning, I wanted to be the one doing backflips, and I'm not. But I'm not saying it's a bad show, and I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying I need to see more. However, my biggest concern with all of this, even on Mando season 2, and I guess she was also in Boba Fett. Just Rosario Dawson is great. She's a great actress. She's beautiful. There's like no denying that she was well cast. She looks like Ahsoka, but at the end of the day, without the voice of Ashley Eckstein, I'm not buying it. My brain keeps saying no. This isn't right. There's something wrong. And I, with all the voice actors that got their gig in the live action series, would it have been so hard to send Ashley to like Jedi camp for 3 months and get her all buffed up and made it work? I don't know. Rosario's got, and I know she's a bigger star and she has more experience acting. And I don't know. I want to love it. I want to. I think my favorite character on the show is Ray Stevenson. Every time he's on the screen, he's just powerful. He's a powerful actor, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of him and just where it goes. And also, this did feel like a bit of a prequel to its own show. It's like now we're right at the end of Rebels season 4, and we're kind of where we left off, and so we'll see where it goes. And I mean, it's also like the story of like Ezra and the space whales. So I know the Purrgil, I know. So I call them the space whales. And I don't know. I felt like Rebels had a good ending, like a satisfying ending. When Kanan sacrificed himself to save everyone, it was reminiscent of Spock. In the search for the Wrath of Khan, and he sacrificed himself to save everyone. And you felt. I cried when Kanan died. I felt that emotionally, powerfully. And I felt like that story came to an end. So, I don't know. I guess we're getting Rebels season 5, and that's cool. And so maybe I should come back at the end, after the 8th one, and tell you how it's harder to judge a show on 2 episodes. And
you know what? I love hearing that input because I feel like it's necessary to have a yin and a yang. And you have been a huge fan of Ahsoka for a long time. I mean, you have the song. High Adventure has the Ahsoka song.
3 songs.
3 songs.
Trilogy. Of course.
I mean, coming from somebody that's a big fan, because we were talking about the fact that I'm kind of like the virgin here because I did not watch all of Clone Wars. I watched half of Rebels, but not all of it. And I feel like that did not matter for me watching Ahsoka. But for you, I totally see that hey, that's not Ashley Eckstein. There's something not right here because we've known this character affiliated with this actress for so long. And I know you weren't slamming Rosario,
no.
But it was one of those things where it's like you're used to somebody doing the role of a character for so long. It is strange, especially in Star Wars, the Star Wars franchise, when that continuity, that familiarity gets broken up by somebody else. So I totally get that. And because you are a big fan of Ahsoka, I could see this being a little flat. I got to tell you, I was a little flat with Andor. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film. When I saw Andor, I'm like, okay. And then I read the Tony Gilroy interview that brother Tyler Page had sent to me, and he's like, everybody take off your Star Wars hat. And I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that? You're making a Star Wars project. Why are you taking off your Star Wars hat? And Matthew, I know Andor is up there for you, but for me, it was a little flat, and maybe that's why I love Ahsoka so much is because I have not been attached to the story and the character like you guys have for all these years,
Yeah.
For me, this is Star Wars porn. Seeing live action Star Wars, anything, even if it is Andor, that fell a little flat from Rogue One. It still blows my mind that we're getting this kind of content. There was a time where George was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm selling the business. And we didn't even know that he was selling the business. We just knew that he was done after Revenge of the Sith. And then we got everything that came with that. I'm very, very thankful for that. And I know that you guys are as well. And I know because you guys are passionate fans, I know that it becomes a challenge to live up to this hype and expectation, for sure. But Glenn, you make some really valid points, for sure. And I thank you for sharing those.
If I could just say, one more thing, I guess I'm a big pro Ashley Eckstein guy. But when you know Ashley, if you ever met her, and I've had the luck, good fortune to meet her several times, and I wrote a song for her personally that I thought she might actually get to sing. It was like a Disney princess song called Patience. It's off one of our CDs, and it's on YouTube. But she is Ahsoka, and she has internalized this so much over the years because everyone comes to her and tells her their Ahsoka stories, what they mean to them, to their kids. I've told her what Ahsoka means to my daughter, Vale. She really is the character. And I saw something on Twitter recently where she was going through, she looked very sad. She put up a really sad picture of herself, no makeup. And this was right before the release of Ahsoka. And I couldn't help feeling bad for her, thinking, I know it breaks her heart that you didn't get the gig. And she's trying to say, it's go Rosario, go girl. But I know it, and I just know it breaks her heart, and it just kind of breaks mine too. And I think the show would have more appeal if she was Ahsoka. I think it's cool that she got fan cast. Rosario got fan cast. It was like, oh my god, cool. She got the gig. That's cool. It's all cool, and I love the passion and everything that she's bringing to it. I understand that. And this is Dave Filoni, and there's one thing we've often said, Chris. It's in Filoni we trust. So I'm not ready to give up my trust in Filoni just yet. So anyway, I did like a lot about it. If it looks great, it sounds great. The people making Star Wars are doing a great job. I think the expectation, we're just so high as fans. The expectation is what we want it to be. It's so hard to live up to that hype. And if I could my only other, I guess, minor gripe would be I just don't like the casting of Hera. To me, Hera should be more matronly, if that's a word, more motherly and sort of like middle-aged mom type look. She looks very young and very beautiful and very skinny and everything. It's like, but she's had kids, and like I think the casting choice could have been better for her. But the casting choice for Sabine Wren is spot on. She is great. She is great. So there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good, and I guess I'm just waiting to see where it goes.
Glenn, you've been on the show several times. I'm going to actually give you a choice here. You've played these games before.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a choice. Would you rather play one word that comes to mind when I say, would you rather, or either or? It's your choice tonight.
What's the choice? Is one word or what?
Yeah, either or. Okay, you've played that before.
Either or. Yes.
Okay. Would you rather? Would you rather?
Would you rather?
Or one word that comes to mind.
I played all these games.
You're going to play one tonight as a guest. What would you like to play tonight?
Let's do one word reaction.
Okay, one word reaction. Okay, one word reaction is going to be, so you say the one word that I'm going to deliver. Live action Star Wars.
Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know.
Kathleen Kennedy, live action Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy comes to mind. That's a very negative word, I think.
Isn't she kind of in charge of all that? Disney Plus.
Okay.
Well, you want something positive. You want like, oh my God, amazing.
Well, no. I mean, okay. I mean, if live action Star Wars is negative to you,
I didn't.
Okay.
I said Kathleen Kennedy. We talk about Kathleen Kennedy all the time. Like the guys here on the East Coast, man. She's an often discussed person. Carry on.
Okay, animated Star Wars.
Dave Filoni.
Okay, Ahsoka.
Beautiful, patient, heroic, and as I said, just has meant the world to my family and to my daughter and to me. So that's more than one word.
See, I think that's the thing about this show. This character is so important to you. It's very hard for the expectation to be met in the first 2 episodes anyway. Like you said, let's come back at the end.
Yeah.
Thrawn. What comes to mind when I say Thrawn?
Blue.
And you've already touched on this a little bit. Filoni.
Hat.
Okay, man.
Maybe I should have picked either or.
Like you said, in Filoni we trust, right? In Filoni we trust. So
Only play the long game too. That's the other thing about Filoni, and that's where the trust part comes in. He plays the long game. He knows more. He knows what's going to happen, and it's not like he's winging it. He's been planning this his whole career, so it's going somewhere. So
it's going somewhere, and we can't rate the show.
It's too soon.
Just the first 2 episodes, I guess I'm trying to follow the Rebel Force Radio format here. It's like, hey, let's do a show focused around Ahsoka, but I'm not going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do the beginning, and then Glenn, I'll have you back on at the end when this series is over. I just wanted to kind of kick this off and get the reactions from you, Glenn. I know you're a big fan, and as well as my producers. I do want to do a little something. Glenn, I don't know if you got the memo on this, but I do want to do a little something here. We're all collectors of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go around the table here. I'm going to start with Matthew. Matthew, you have a show and tell item that you have focused around Ahsoka. What can you tell us about your item and what do you have this evening?
Yeah, I have I have the original Clone Wars comic issue. There's kind of a funny story, because I got this when it was new, and when I went to ICC Con last year, I brought it with me. I had it in my backpack because Ashley Eckstein was going to be there, and I thought maybe I'll get people to sign things. So I had it in my bag, and I don't look at like how much things are worth on eBay and things like that. And so I was driving Tyler and Brian to dinner or something, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I got these comics in my bag," and they're like, "That comic sells on eBay for like $1,000. Like it's the most valuable Star Wars comic because it's the first one that Ahsoka was ever in, and she's so popular right now." And so it's kind of funny. I'm just like walking around like casually with this, like just in like a little plastic. I mean, it's in a plastic thing, but most people will be like, "Oh my god!" Like put that somewhere safe and maybe get some insurance for it. So, but I have the whole run just because I bought all the comics up until recently. So that's mine.
That's a good one, and I know you're a comic book guy. Cody, what do you have? I know you got a couple collectibles behind you.
I brought my autographed Ahsoka Pops. I've got the Clone Wars, animated version signed by Ashley Eckstein, and then the live-action version from Mandalorian signed by Rosario.
That is a kick-ass set right there. You got the best of both worlds on that Ahsoka right there. And it's a Funko Pop, so that it's not like a photo with the actress, if you will. That's a really, really cool piece. Where did you get those signed?
I got the Ashley Eckstein one signed last year at ICCC, and then Rosario at Celebration in London and back in April.
Now, did they sign the window, and then do you have them in a case, or?
Yeah, they're actually signed on the pop window itself, and then the case is over top of that.
Okay, very, very, very cool. Antonio is next at bat, and I won't throw balls at you because that is what the Yankees do to the Rays.
Of course not. Actually, that's so funny that you put me right after Cody, because I have something very similar, though I didn't grab all of them, but I also brought my
Oh,
many Funko Pops for all the different iterations of Ahsoka. And I think what you were just talking about, what's so cool about that, right? Like, I have stuff from the Clone Wars to the Rebels version to now the, ones like from not Boba Fett, from Mandalorian season, and then now from the new one that they just did a promotion for. So
do you have her in
really
the
cool
tube top? In
Yes.
the tube top that Chris hates?
Actually, I was just gonna personal choice. I also, anytime I'm fighting someone, I always do it in a midriff. So like a nice little tube top makes you feel very flexible.
Now, do
Gross.
they have more than? Are you missing any of the Funko Pops from your collection, or did they make more than 3 Ahsokas?
Yeah, I have a few other ones that are also in the house, but I'm sure I don't have all of them. I'm actually the Chewbacca collector. That's what I have. So I have all the Chewbacca Funko Pops.
So
and
you
stuff
have
like
the
that.
complete Chewbacca Funko Pop collection, and you're missing some from the Ahsoka, but you obviously have 3 there.
Sure.
So that's a good start. I know Andy's going to show us a hot toy of some sort. He's a big hot toy collector. He's on show and tell inside the Wampa Cave.
It's the Hot Toys Ahsoka from The Mandalorian. Just got her a few weeks ago. Very detailed, very, very nice looking figure.
Now, is this one that you had customized, or is this one that you?
No, this is an actual Hot Toys from Sideshow.
It's a Sideshow Hot Toys, full on, no modifications.
No, it's a very detailed figure. She's got movable eyes. Her head sculpt comes out. There's a little tool that you can move the eyes, so it's got rolling eyes.
Oh, whoa, wait! I want to see the rolling eyes. Can we see the rolling eyes?
Well, you got to take off the head, and then there's like a little tool that you put in, and you can roll them whichever way if you want to pose it. So it gives a more realistic.
That is a hands-on collector's item right there.
Yeah.
That's a nice. Now, what does something like that run you?
It's about this one was about $250.
Are you pleading the fifth?
No, the wife's on board with it. She's good with it now. So
it's always good to have the wife on board. It's always good to have the wife on board. It leaves the smuggling less complicated, if you will. I know Glenn Nelson's got something. I know he's got several Ahsoka items. Glenn, what are you sharing today?
I had 2 things in the arm's reach here. This I think is a pretty hard to find item. It's the Forces of Destiny Ahsoka.
Yes, that is a hard ass item to find.
I got really lucky, and I like pre-ordered it right when it came out, and I don't think it went into like full production. I've rarely seen these. This is a funny story. My daughter, as you guys know, also loves Ahsoka. Obviously, she even calls me Master sometimes, which is a little weird, but she's my Padawan. But anyway, this comes in the mail after about 1.5 years that I ordered it, and I'm like, "Oh, cool! Look at this mail." And she goes, "Is that for me, Daddy?" And I said, "No, that's Daddy's dolly. You can't have it." And I felt a little weird about that, but she forgave me. But speaking of ICCC, I just brought this home. We were all there recently, and I picked this up. This beautiful artwork signed by the artist Brittany Ann Art. She was there.
Yes, she does awesome artwork, man. I saw her on the show floor.
And this piece was there all weekend, and I kept eyeing it, and I kept saying, I kept trying to talk her down, and then right when the con was closing, she gave me this rock bottom price that I won't even. She must have just wanted to part with it, but
that is it.
I am going to sign
awesome
that
piece.
I'm it's not framed yet. But as soon as I get Ashley to sign it, and this is my daughter Vale. So this is my
hello, Vale. We've seen you on Machtails before, at least in B-roll form. We know you're a big Ahsoka Clone Wars fan as well. Glenn, is that the only piece that you bought from that artist? She had so much great art.
She had so much great stuff. I mean, I shouldn't really be buying art at this point. Vale still wants the doll. She's like, "No, Daddy's dolly, no!" But my speaking of Vale, while I have you guys all Ahsoka fans, perhaps the greatest thing Ashley ever did for Vale and for our family was one Christmas we got Vale a new iPad, and Ashley did a cameo video for Vale for Christmas. This was when Vale was 15. She's 18 now. But on Christmas morning, she unboxes the iPad and she hits it, and the first thing that pops up is Ashley, like a 3-minute video for Vale. And it was such a beautiful cameo. I mean, Ashley's met Vale. She knows Vale, but she put her heart and soul into it. The whole family was crying on Christmas morning. And Vale is not very good at. She doesn't really show that emotion. She doesn't cry a lot. But she was crying. And boy, was that powerful. And I watched that video whenever I need to feel like uplifted. And especially when I show it to fans of Ahsoka, they get it, man. Like, that's a beautiful video, and I'm so grateful for her for doing that. So,
I don't watch it in the video.
Sure, honey.
So when she said this, when she said this to me, I felt like my inner power, my inner power, and this method has this effect on me. Has this effect on my whole ability as a Padawan.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I totally did, man. And that is a really, really heavy story. That sounds like a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, man. I love her, man. I love her heart, and Ahsoka. Yeah, as I often said, means a lot to our whole family. So.
I could totally see that, Matthew. I'm going to put a little bit of last minute work on your plate. Can you possibly dig up the photo? I feel bad because Glenn, can you dig up the photo of me and Ashley Eckstein? I've shared this before. I don't know if this is going to be too last minute, Glenn. I feel like the fact that you're talking about Ashley, I feel very, very guilty about sharing my Ahsoka item, and I want to bring up the one of me with Ashley Eckstein, because that moment was such a great moment because she was in the Force within us. We opened the show with her talking about female fans and how they are half of the percentage of the Star Wars fan base. I was such a lucky son of a bitch that Dan Manson loves what I do, and Dan Manson has a great relationship with Ashley. He called Ashley and he goes, "My friend is making a sequel to his Star Wars documentary. You need to give him the time of day." And when I met her, I knew she was bigger than life itself. She was so down to earth. And the fact that she gave me the time of day to interview her, to this day, I am so thankful for that, because that was once in a lifetime experience. And I'm going to share something with you, and I feel a little guilty about this, but living in the moment, if you will, with Rosario Dawson and my relationship with brother Tyler Page, I want to share this. The other item that I have is the photo of me and Ashley. But we had met her at C2E2 last year. Very, very cool. I knew meeting her in Chicago at C2E2 was going to be better than standing in line for 12 hours at Star Wars Celebration, and it would be a fraction of the price. So there were a lot of things going on in this photo. Tyler on her side, me on the other. The fact that she didn't charge an arm and a leg, the fact that we didn't have to wait a long time. I like this photo, but the photo of Ashley and I would say, I don't know, photos are special. And did Matthew Rooney work some magic where he pulled that photo from a hat? Look at this guy. Well, Matthew, you have magic up your sleeve here. Yeah, so this photo is not the one that I was referring to, but it is an example. This is actually on the floor after we filmed her. So this one is equally as good. But when I had released the film, the Force Within us. She knew who I was. She remembered the interview. It was a year later. Glenn, going back to everything that you said about her, it was just a genuine. She is a genuine person. It was a magical moment that I had with her, just down to earth. And you got to remember, Clone Wars was and is a huge part of the Star Wars franchise. I mean, she's a rock star. And the fact that she gave me a time of day, the fact that she had sent that to Glenn's daughter, that video, that just speaks volumes about the people. And again, going back to the top of the show, Star Wars friends become family when the actors and the actresses are part of that circle. It becomes a franchise and experience like a lot of other people don't get a chance to experience, if that makes any sense. You know, I want to thank you guys for sharing with me. But I want to end the show on a high note. Glenn played a little game. Matthew, I want to play a little game with you. You got the photo for this. Shag, marry, disintegrate. Are you willing to play this game?
I'm not a fan of that game, partially because I don't want to disintegrate anybody, but also I feel like it's a little bit demeaning to women, a little bit, but mostly I just don't like the idea of disintegrating somebody.
Okay. Hey, I'm feeling hot soul. Let me explain myself here. Okay, so the idea of shag, marry, disintegrate. And you know what? I tell you what. Okay, I get it. You don't want to kill anybody. Who does? I know there's people out there that feel the hate that much. But I want to change the name of this game. And, you know, since you don't want to play this game, I'll spin it off to somebody else. Let's change it to what Vader told Boba Fett. Okay? Hence, this game moving forward will be called Shag, Marry, Carbonite. Okay, we're going to call it because essentially there was no disintegrations, so it was carbonite. We don't want to kill anybody. When you say degrading to women, I stole this idea from Andy Cohen. Watch What Happens Live. He asks this to both men and women. I would love to play this with females on the show. We just don't have enough females on the show, and it just happens to be a sausage fest tonight. So,
you can invite us to talk about men, though, too.
You know, I can. Yes, I can. I can invite you to talk about men. Yeah, shag, marry, carbonite, right? Okay. You know what? I am going to spin this. You know what? Let me ask you this: who is willing to play this dirty tomfoolery of a game that we play on this show? I know Glenn is happily married, as I know a lot of you guys are. Somebody has to step up to the plate with the bat in their hand to play this game.
I'll do it.
Okay, Glenn, you're up. Okay, Glenn, why don't you give us the shag, marry, carbonite here with these choices that we have.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get the images back up again. Sorry, you know what, Matthew? Can you bring up the image again? I am trying to play you behind the board here tonight, and I just can't do it. That is why you have the special talent and responsibility on Mocktails from the Cantina, working your magic behind the board. I don't belong behind the board. I'm not a technical guy. I just plug in and go. Glenn, you got your choices right there.
This is a no-brainer. You want me to start with carbonite?
Yeah, start with carbonite, yes.
All right. Hera, carbonite. That was easy. I'm just basing it on these pictures you got in front of me. Yeah. Not the whole of Star Wars fandom. And I'm too old to care about getting canceled anyway. Shag, Sabine Wren. Let's face it. I mean, come on. She's pretty hot, and you gotta marry Ahsoka. But can I make a personal request? Can I marry Ashley Eckstein? My wife, I think, would let me. I think my wife would understand. She's right in the other room listening. I think she would. I think she'd be okay with that.
If there was an either or question, Rosario Dawson or Ashley Eckstein, I know what your answer would be.
Yeah, I'm not even going to answer that.
All right. Well, you know what, Glenn, I thank you for playing this dirty game that we've renamed now. Thank you to Matthew Rooney inspiring me, because Darth Vader said no disintegrations, and we don't want to disintegrate anybody anymore. Rich is chiming in. Rich is actually going to end the show tonight with the cheer and a beer. He's in the green room right now, consuming several beverages, but we're not done yet. Andy, I want to play a little game with you. I'm going to give you your choice here. As I bring up my notes on my iPhone, would you like to play? Okay, Glenn already eliminated Comes to Mind. We've already played Shagman. You know what? I'm not even going to give you a choice. We are going to play. The wheels are coming off the wagon a little bit here as we are coming close to the end of the show. Okay, we're going to go either or. Okay. And we're gonna do a nice transition because we've talked about this. Ashley Eckstein or Rosario Dawson. And don't worry, Glenn Nelson will not disintegrate you.
I mean, I'll go with Ashley. It's just the one that we've seen the most, the one that I've grown up with.
I would say amen to that. Here's a tough one for you animation fans. The Clone Wars or Rebels?
Rebels.
Rebels. Oh, you say that like no, it's a no-brainer for you.
Sure. I love Clone Wars, but Rebels it's because it's tied to the OT. It's got OT music. It
feels very
I feel like they did a good job. That's one thing that captivated me about Rebels was they really tied in the OT very nicely. Jedi or Sith? Jedi or Sith?
Probably go Sith.
Sith.
Yeah.
But you have a bunch of heroes behind you.
Yeah, but I only have 2 Jedi. I've got more bad guys than anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Mandos are hired hands, right? They work for both sides. This is a little bit of an odd one, but I think if you think about it, you can choose wisely. Snips or Fly Guy?
Sky Guy.
Yeah, Sky Guy.
Sky Guy. Sorry. I said Fly Guy. Sky Guy.
I was about to say, yeah, it's the wrong show. I'll go with Snips.
Fly Guy would be the Star Wars animated porn. All right, so you said you would go Snips.
Yeah.
Okay. Antonio, you're up to bat here.
Okay.
I want to play a little Would You Rather with you.
Okay.
Would you rather? And I don't have it. Okay. So, would you rather go out on a date with Rosario Dawson or Ashley Eckstein?
I would, again, okay, go on a date with Rosario Dawson because she's going to bring us out to a much better place. She's like a Hollywood star. I'm going to get more access with her. But I'd rather marry Ashley.
I could see that with Rosario, yes. And again, I think that's how Rosario landed the role of Ahsoka.
Yeah, bigger name.
Would you rather? And you know what? This is a new show. Okay, we're all guilty of this. It's very, very. I could say this because we've only seen 2 episodes. We're not familiar with all of these characters by name yet. Would you? And somebody that knows the name, fill it in. Would you rather hang out with Chopper or that droid with all the knowledge of the Jedi and the lightsabers?
Huyang.
Oh, Huyang.
Yeah. Who would you rather hang out with at the Cantina?
As long as Huyang doesn't have an attitude about it, you'd love to hang out with him. Like he could easily cross over to the know-it-all sort of type of fan, you know, like, well, technically, actually, that didn't happen during the second battle of whatever. Yeah, I feel like he would have such a lot of knowledge, great questions, great answers, great conversation. But as long as he doesn't become annoying, I'll be cool with him.
Would you rather watch the first 2 episodes of Andor over or Ahsoka over? Repeat viewings of episode 1 and 2.
I'd rather watch Ahsoka because there's more action in it. That's not a diss on Andor. There's just more setup in Andor, and there's a much, I don't know, more intricate. I don't know, maybe I'm guessing more intricate story that was set up in those first several episodes. Like the first 3 episodes of Andor had a lot of setup in it.
Would you rather be Hera's co-pilot or run free with Sabine?
Stability. I go with Hera.
Go with Hera as a co-pilot. Okay, stability.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to run all fucking crazy like it's a Wild West?
I mean, listen, one day she's got long hair, the next day she's cutting her hair off with like a knife. I feel like that's a red flag for me. I'd be like, that's a massive change. Perhaps think about this stuff, maybe not be so reactive, but whatever. I personally just like Hera anyways.
But as Glenn said, she would be a good shag.
Yeah, that's one day, or I guess multiple days, but I don't know. I feel like Hera's also just, I feel like a really cool person that I hope they continue to like develop it in both live action and animated, just because she's been represented in a few different, right? Like we first heard a cameo to her in Rogue One. So I just hope they keep bringing her back into the bigger picture. I like her a lot.
Well, you know what? I will. I'm looking forward to, like Glenn said, we gotta wait this out. We got to see the entire series. Yeah. I know a lot of us are anticipating a lot of things to come on this show. I'm just going for the ride, man. Like I did with Rogue One. I went in not knowing much, not caught up in the hype or the hot stove, if you will, and I was blown away. So there's some blessings and some curse, folks. Not being a fan of the animated show and or not being captivated by it. Antonio, again, I'm not slamming it. I'm not slamming it, brother.
You know what? I'm pulling out my Patreon. That's it. It's done.
Hey, I cannot lose you guys as producers. I cannot lose you guys as producers. Glenn, I know you're a big Kickstarter guy. I always see you supporting all these kind of projects. Is there anything that you want to plug or share that you are supporting other than your own works? I know you're always supporting the arts, brother, and that's what I love about you. One of the many things I love about you. Is there anything that you were like, hey, you guys got to check this out?
Well, one of my many, nerdy passions is synthesizers, because I'm part of my musician, but I'm, a keyboard player and prog rock guy. And so there's this really cool British guy named Look Mum No Computer. And he just does these crazy do-it-yourself projects. He has this museum where he like rebuilds all this crazy stuff. He makes his own instruments, and he's one of my more interesting Patreon guys that I support. I will tell you this: I don't get a lot of email. I've been very careful through the years to filter out all the junk, so I get about 20 a day, maybe at the most, and half of them are you.
Yeah, we're always creating content here at Machtails from the Cantina.
And Look Mom No Computer. So I see you and his name every single day, several times a day. Pops up on my phone.
Yeah, and again, you're probably satisfied with the quality and the quantity of the content.
Of course. No. I mean, of all the people in the world that I love to see on my phone, it's Chris Mocked.
And then Look Mom, No Computer?
Look Mum, yes. I don't know why he called it that, but that's what it is. And people throw him money, man, just to make these crazy projects. And he makes great videos on YouTube, so you should go check him out on YouTube, obviously. And then the Patreon stuff goes even deeper. Like he'll actually show you how he makes the builds and how he does everything with all the circuit boards and the breadboards and all that stuff that I don't watch all that stuff. But I'm happy to support, that kind of an artist or what you do or what Jimmy and Jason do. And mostly I support musicians that I just feel like I just feel like need a little help. And one of my friends is named, one of my dear friends, his name is David Lovelace. He has a thing on Facebook called Cat Lasers with a Z, Cat Lasers. And he just hit 75,000 followers. And if you love cats and if you love lasers, then you're going to love cats with lasers coming out of their eyes. People, this is so funny. People send him pictures of their cats, and he'll Photoshop the cat like exploding a city with its eyes, and you get one a day. Like every day, he cranks one out.
Yeah, so, I've seen this. I've actually seen this on. I think I've seen this on WGN News talk about this stuff. And who does not like cats and lasers? Who does not like cats and lasers? And who does not like the next and final segment of the show before we do the Patreon name draw? But I want to bring on brother Rich Brendel. And Rich, I'm going to set a little bit of rules and regulations to you. The last time you were on the show, you did a cheer and a beer to brother Glenn Nelson, but you have to think outside the box and do a different one this time. So I'm going to bring on Rich. Rich has got this great talent. He should start his own Patreon page, at least do some YouTube videos as the chugging guy, because I've never seen anybody do what he does before. And I'm so thankful that he's a friend, a Patreon supporter, and part of the show. Brother Rich is here to share a cheer and a beer. Rich, what are you drinking tonight? And who are you drinking for? What are you cheersing tonight, brother?
I am drinking a classic Miller High Life and doing a toast to Dave Filoni, the future of Star Wars.
Hey, I will drink.
And so, to Dave.
Cheers to Dave. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that.
Sitting down. Sitting down.
Sitting down,
yeah.
even. Yes.
This is my first one sitting down, too.
It is a Machtails exclusive. Brother Rich Brendel, thank you so much for that. And I say amen to that. Amen to Dave Filoni. Again, somebody else that we featured as a cameo, if you will, in The Force Within Us. I want to thank you guys for taking your time.
This is my show and tell.
Oh, hey, yeah, Rich, what's the show? What do you got there, man? You got to use pizza box with the Ahsoka's face?
No, this is a McDonald's Happy Meal toy.
Oh, it's on the ship too from Clone Wars.
Yeah, it's on the Twilight.
Oh, she's wearing the tube top, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
Nice drinking word.
Actually, I think she's topless. She's topless in it.
Did you customize that?
Yeah. Glenn will be like, "I'll give you $100 for that."
Hey, I want to thank my guests for joining on the show. Brother John Zicanaro for chiming in. Dale Morris for chiming in. Brother Riverdale for watching. Cody Moore, people can follow you on Twitch, Twitter, and everything else. Mo Walker for you gamers out there. Remember, support the show on Patreon. We're going to try something a little new tonight. We're going to do the show without the Robert Hines music behind us because we have to get the audio straight with this. But I want to, Matthew, you want to give me a number? We're going to do the Patreon name draw right now. And we're doing it a different way because my tins of villains and heroes is still in the Nashville area from the ICCC Machtails live event. I hope to get those tins back next year at least, because I've had them since 2002. So you pick a number without any knowledge of who is behind this number. I dig them up on Patreon. Count the number supporter. Who do we have tonight? What number do you give us?
5 for Ahsoka, or for Rebels season 5.
Rebels season 5. I dig that because I know that was Brother Glenn Nelson. It said that this is what Ahsoka has become. Number 5 is Brother David Gladding. David Gladding has won. He is not a producer, so he needs to be watching live. Hopefully he is watching. I didn't see him chime in. I know he's watching on the replay. He is the winner tonight. I am your show host, Chris Macht. Please, I lied. I have to end with music. It's just not. It's just not normal to not have the Robert Hines outro. I want to thank my co-producers. Paul Walker Moore, Antonio from New Jersey, Andy from Miami, and Brother Glenn Nelson as our special guest this evening, and of course, Brother Rich Brendel for raising his glass for the Cheer and a Beer segment to Dave Filoni. We will catch you guys next time on another episode of Machtails from the Cantina. Be well, be safe. If your glass is half empty, it's time to get a refill. We'll catch you guys next time. So long, everybody.